Hi guys, Neil Russell here, and today's video we will be talking about some of, I guess, timely and contemporary topic that people until now can't get rid of. I'm not pertaining to any diseases or any events, but rather I'm talking to this compelling force that drive us to buying things, whether necessary or not, which seems to be a global trend, and that is online shopping. Well, I'm not imposing that online shopping is bad. What I really mean is that there is a negative side when somebody is currently obsessed or hooked on lavish and unnecessary shopping. And from there, I guess there is a sense of maybe a feeling of not being contented of what you have or who you are as an individual. And that relates us to our topic. Our main topic for today is the material or economic self. So what is this topic all about? So this topic will define the self as being into material things, or in layman's term, materialistic self. I know several of you have a negative connotation about the word materialistic. Well, not all the time. We should bear in mind that every person has a personal needs and wants or likes. And we should always bear in mind also that there's a difference between what you need and what you want. So in need is basically you have to survive, just like clothing, food, and shelter. And want is the desire for something. Okay, and then but today, unfortunately, in most cases, what you want is being the trend to satisfy your personal goal or personal interest, whether bad or good. So let's go deeper now. So under this material or economic self, we have this idea: I shop, therefore I am. I have, therefore I am. Okay? So it is an idea that shopping has turned into lifestyle, characterized by lavish spending, whether physical or online shopping. And then there is actually an underlying question, which is, does what we buy define our personal identity? For me personally, I'm very guilty in this because sometimes when I got my salary, I spend too much in the things that I don't really personally need, like every day. For example, I have 18 pairs of shoes. Do you think there's a really need to have a big collection of shoes for you to survive? Will that consider me na one day millionaire, or one day millionaire materialistic person, or even attention seeker because of what I buy? Well, probably people will tell you that because there is a stereotyping that going around. Okay, so that's the meaning of I shop therefore I am. I have therefore I am. You're being judged, or you're being judged by the person because of what you buy or what you have, no? And then it becomes your identity. If you buy these things, then people will tell you, "Ah, you are greed, you're materialistic, you're just materialistic person, you're one day millionaire." That's it. That's the stereotyping, and that becomes your identity eventually. That's it. And under also for economic self or material self is this consumption and production. So we know consumption and production, right? So consume is defined as use up, to spend wastefully, to destroy. It is defined by Gostdorf in 1978. While production is simply the manufacturing from components or raw materials or the process of being so manufactured. So the definition shows that consumption has a negative connotation. There is, however, a positive side of consumption. So behind consumption, there is production. Okay? So we consumers, we keep the companies alive. So without us, so wala po sila, ana lang. These companies pay people who are their workers whose earnings put food on the table for their family, to provide for their family. So ano lang, give and take lang ang consumption and production. Thus, consumption is very important. So not all the time consumption has a negative connotation. No? There's actually positive side as well. So next is conscious consumption. So very self-explanatory na kayo yung conscious. Okay? It is about practicing responsible buying habits, and then wherein every person has free will, and freedom comes with responsibility and obligations. So being conscious is being aware of whatever things you do practically. Okay? We consumers we are often portrayed as victims by those greedy companies. However, we should take note that every person has free will. So it is our choice. We have choice are very important here. If you were if you bought something online and then you feel or you felt that you were just deceived by the company, then practically that's your choice. It is your choice to be fooled or to be tricked by this company. So, what's the message of this conscious consumption? You should take responsibilities. Whatever you do, whatever the things that you do, whether online or physical, whatever you buy online, you should take responsibilities and obligations as well. You should admit it that you've been tricked by those companies. Finally, the last part of material or economic self is the psychological or sociological consumption. It talks about the idea that consumption becomes an addiction. So, consumption, uh, it is not limited on buying goods on the physical market. It can be also us, internet users, citizens, especially those Mobile Legend gamers, Dota 2 gamers. Those are those are just examples um, of consumers. Okay, so what happens now? It becomes an addiction. No, it becomes an addiction, and wherein happiness seems to attach to buying something. Ano lang. So, question now is that unsa man gid ang importante gyud sa tua, no? Aside from money, food, shelter, and it is family. Sometimes kasi we divert kanang we divert our attention to those things, no? Wala tay ang mga bata karon, especially the youth, wala kay temperance kaayo, no? About this. And that's the message of psychological, sociological consumption. And of course, we should always be aware, and then again, we should always take responsibilities. No? Dili lang ta, we should not divert our attention for those things that not are the most important thing to our lives. Ano lang. And then, finally, we're down to our last part. At this point, we are going to identify, or we're going to define what is identity, and then what is the relationship of identity to consumer culture. Okay, so identity first. So identity is simply your qualities, your personalities, attitudes, right? Just like this ID, no? It is your identity card, no? Here you have your name, your signature, your unique signature, your blood type, and where you live, no? That's it. That's the identity. But in the book, it says there that it is a symbolic idea or image we build for ourselves through a social interactions. Yes. It is a dynamic and thereby can be improved through communication and through different ways that a person interacts within the cultural atmosphere and social relations. Mac 1993. Okay? So, a social category defined by membership rules, characteristic attributes, or expected behaviors, socially distinguishing features that an individual takes pride in having. So, where do identity starts? At your home. Sa balay na siya. And then other social interactions just like in school, in government offices, that's where you build your identity. For example, and dili lang ka na, what about your status? No? For example, you are rich and you're being boastful. That becomes your identity, boastful. No? Then something or possession that you take pride, for example, lagi ka to na dato mo, and then you take pride na being dato mo, that becomes your identity. Na kay backer sa government, ana. That becomes your identity eventually. Next is, what are the factors that affects identity? So number one is social relations of power. So what are the examples of social relations of power? Where can we find this? At home, sa balay. So at home, we have father and daughter relation, mother and father relation. So ano silang relation? They're families. But who are the authoritative person? It's the mother, father, our parents, no? O depende po na sa family po. And then they have the authority. So us children, as their children, we should listen to or we should look up or we should listen to our parents. Muna siya ang social relations of power, and that's affect our identity. Okay? For example, ay mong papa and ay mong papa is kuan siya kanang unsa man. Pwede lang kung kuan, what about kanang manginginom kanang sagig inom imong papa, makaapekto man sa imong identity. Eventually kanang ma-adapt nimo siya ang iyang identity sa imo. That can really affect you big time, no? Pero kung if your papa is upright person, kanang tarong, no? That's very good. That can also affect you as a person. And some example. What about in school, no? Teacher and student relation. So, ang most authority ang the authority or ang power good is ang teacher. Teacher over students, not students over teacher. Kaya sila may magtudo sa tuwa. So that's sila authority, na sila social power among us. Just like in the country, in the Philippines, the president is uh, person, no? Siya magbando, siya magkuan, siya magpirma sa mga batas and mga laws. Ano lang. Dala ng relations. And then symbolic image of the world. So what I understand here is that those prominent and dominant religions and the symbolic image man. So there's a cross. An example is when you born Hindu, just like when you are born Hindu. So in Hindu, they respect so much on cows. Yes, you heard it right, cows. So respeto sila ayo sa mga baka. Because for them, cows are the most sacred and they treat their cows as their mothers. So whenever you go to India, please observe this kind of manner that you should also, hindi mo garagaron ang baka, hindi mo labay-labayon, hindi mo kuanan lang. Because they will show you that because they really value their cows. That's the symbol there, no? And of course, kana mga LGBT flags, ana sa kanang mga isa mo makita kag flags ana nanganganyo ka na mo lang bayot lugar kanang tungod adto na symbol na build ang imong kuan identity. Indani man gid gyapon ko, bayot man gid gyapon dai ko, so mag-apel ko sa ila ni. Okay, next. So we're now going to define consumer culture. So what is consumer culture? So all of us in the internet or in the world, we are consumers. We are all consumers, whether dato ka or pobre ka, we are all consumer, and that's become our culture, consumer culture. Okay, so consumerism is one of the strongest force affecting modern people's lives, no? when you say consumer culture is a culture of consumption. So as just like what I've said, no, may negative and positive side on consumption. And then consumer culture is the culture of market society. So in Facebook or in YouTube, whenever you open a video in YouTube, mag-pop up ang there is an advertisement popping up, and that's the culture of that's the market society, no. Consumer culture is the culture of market society apart from the physical store that we have, just like in Kugon, no. And then consumer culture is universal and impersonal. Yes, because if you submit and you make account in Facebook, you're submitting yourself. So meaning it is not it is not personal anymore. Impersonal na siya because you are giving information for the people to, no, for the people. And consumer culture identifies freedom with private choice in life. Yes. And consumer culture needs insatiable and unlimited. Consumer culture is privileged medium for building personal identity and status. Just like what's happening in the world right now, we are experiencing a pandemic disease, which is COVID-19. And then suddenly, because of the lockdown, many students are now trapped in their homes. And then those students, mangita sila lingaw, nag-TikTok sila. Wala sila kabalo, nakabalo man na sila og sayaw. So narad uh, na na build ilang identity na kabalo din sila og sayaw, no? Na sila talented that to it's part of their identity din nakabalo sila og sayaw apart from those identities that they have. Ano lang na siya. Okay, so let's now proceed to the problems of consumerism. There's a problem. There's a serious problem of consumerism really in the world. Number one is it is intrusive. Yes, just like what I've said, when you submit yourself and make account on any social media sites, you're submitting yourself and giving information to others, and that's intrusive. You're being people will now invade your personal information. There's a personal space invasion. That's intrusion. Second is it is manipulative. Yes, manipulative siya. It cannot provide many of the things that are important to us. So, sa importante yun, just like what I said, it is family. It is family that give us strength, give love, ano. So, ang Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and whatsoever, Twitter, ano, dili siya makahatag og important things in our lives, no? Gasamok-samok na siya, ganun sa usahay. Pero, of course, na positive side po ng mga social sites, no? Especially kanang mga reach out programs, ana kanang giving informations, breaking news na COVID-19 rise up to 707 na, ana lang na siya. So, problem with consumerism, it restricts our choices and lives. Yes, definitely. It affects our worldviews and characters, no? Uh, it affects our worldviews. So, there is one person, a senator, Coco Pimentel, na he was advised to self quarantine na. He should stay in his home na. But what he did is very controversial. He did grocery. He accompanied his wife to the hospital because his wife is giving birth to his child. But he didn't mind the possibility of infecting many people of what he did. So, my God, he's not mindful to others. So, ang mga tao, mga netizens, ang mga internet users karon gabuto-buto, nagbuto-buto na sa kaulit tungod kay Coco Pimentel. Mga siyang it affects our worldviews and characters. So, katong mga characters, katong mga dili unta nato characters ng gawas, no? Mga siya. And one of the serious problem of consumerism is it is unfortunately unsustainable, no? Katatong mga, especially we are consuming a lot to our environment and it is not all the time there. Walay forever, especially uh, example is kanang oil reserve sa Middle East, kanang mga gas nato diha. Dili man siya, it is not forever there. Kung wala na siya, wala na po tayo magamit. Wala na po magamit ang next generation. And that's the serious problem and social. It is a serious problem actually, no? That's why we should always think twice kung magkuan ba ta kanang dapat maghinay-hinay. There's something na dapat maghinay-hinay gud ta para ang katong mga butang na dili dapat i-consume unta og ayo kay dapat ma-stay lang sila. So muna siya mga problems sa consumerism. And there's a lot more actually na kay mga social issues problem ana and there's a lot more. And how to avoid this trap, how to avoid this problem. So in the book, naay duha ka buok which is Exercise Intellectual Independence and Consume Less, Live More. So exercise intellectual independence. It's like being, from the word itself, independent. Okay, how do we handle fake news? How do we know that information is fake news? We should be independent. We should not rely on those one information lang or one site. We should make an effort, no? We should make an effort to research more about kung fake news ba ni siya. Ana lang. And then consume less, live more. So consume less, it means na we should be mindful, we should be aware, we should know the purpose ng anong ato ni siyang buhaton ana-ana. And then especially I can relate this one because and then makarelate ta ani especially katong mga na-trap students who are trapped in their home, no? Sige tag Facebook and then we don't mind the most we keep ourselves busy, no, for the things that you know the most important thing. For example, as a student, anang sige ra kag dula and then unsa na importante, dula or pag-eskwela? Sige ra kag dula pag imong pag-eskwela kay imong agkababayaan. So muna siya ang message. Consume less lang. So dapat na temperance lang. Ano na, hinahinay lang ba? And then live more. Ano lang. So, I will end this by giving some inspirational quotes or given gani. Basta mga sayings sa internet. So ako lang siya gikuha sa internet, no? So focus on being productive instead of being busy. Yeah, just like what I've said, no? Kanang hinahinay lang ta, especially those students na sige dag Mobile Legends, no? Sige dag Facebook, sige dag scroll. Why not help those frontliners na being vulnerable sa infection disease? If you have big possessions just like money, uh, uh, why can't you donate? Ano lang, pack some foods and then donate sa frontliners. Ano lang. And then if you are, kung nang wala ka, kung example, kung pobre lang gid mo, kung nang wala lang gid mo, magstay lang ta, no? Labi na karon sa COVID-19, ang cooperation is very important gid, no? And then next is we are what we pretend we pretend to be. And kani siya wala na nilabot si kuan. So kanang we are what we pretend to be. If you're so kuan kanang sige ka kanang ga-pretend ka na dato ka pag mandili man dai mo, then you're being insecure. So you're building yourself, you're just making yourself your identity as being insecure person or being so pretentious. And that eventually that becomes your identity. And that's a very bad habit. Okay? What about kaning gingon ni Pope? Consumerism has led us to become accustomed to the superfluous and the daily waste of food, which we are sometimes no longer able to value correctly, as its value goes far beyond mere economic parameters. So, dili ta magkalas-kalas og pagkaon ingon ni Pope, no? Kanang especially now, kanang panic buying ang mga tao because of the infectious disease, because of this pandemic. We're not being mindful for others, no? Kita katong katong kita ang uban-uban nagpanic buying, and what about those others na dili makapalit pa, then pag ato nila kay wala na sila mapalitan, wala na sila mapalit. So we're being selfish, no? And that's become our identity. We're being selfish. The next is be careful who you are, who you pretend to be. You might forget who you are. So very lalong kayo siya, but what I have understand is kuan lang. But what I have understand is nang maginahinay lang ta sa atong buhaton, we should always be mindful and conscious of what we are doing. And then try to make productive ana lang. And thank you so much for your listening, and this has been your reporter Neil Russell Ramos Dungay saying you all goodbye.